Chris Eubank Jr.
Welcome to Hatman Strikes Back Daily Boxing News. So Chris Eubank Jr. has blown the weight for his fight with Conor Benn tomorrow night. He came in half an ounce over the limit, which is a minuscule amount, but it's over the limit nonetheless. And therefore, he's been fined $500,000, which is roughly 375,000 UK pounds. This is the first time that Eubank Jr., as far as I can recall, has missed weight for any fight, or at least any big fight. And therefore, there may be some substance to the notion that he's really struggling to make middleweight. His dad's been saying this for a long time. In fact, in the run-up to this fight, Chris Eubank Jr. said that he's been using a nutritionist and that he doesn't normally have one. So that also would tend to suggest that he's been struggling at the weight, because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The fact he's brought a nutritionist in for this fight suggests that there was an issue there. Now, he turned up late for the weigh-in by something like an hour, and Eddie Hearn wasn't very happy about it. It then left him very little time to try and get those couple of ounces off to make weight, because there was a time limit. Eddie Hearn is insinuating that Eubank Jr. didn't try very hard to get those extra couple of ounces off. He's trying to make out that Eubank Jr. is just playing games or being unprofessional, or however you want to describe it. Has Eubank Jr. miscalculated the weight-making process for the first time ever in a big fight? Is he struggling really bad? And why didn't he make more of an effort to turn up to the weigh-in on time or early, and therefore be able to lose those extra couple of ounces? Well, ultimately, it comes down to how much Chris Eubank Jr. is getting paid, and therefore how much of a dent in his paycheck these fines are going to leave. There have been some reports out there that Eubank Jr. might be getting 8 million, 10 million for this fight. If that's accurate, then he's probably not going to want to stress himself out physically and mentally trying to lose a couple of ounces, because that's part of the reason why, for example, the rehydration limit is in the contract. Not just because Eddie Hearn and Conor Benn think that it might physically deplete Eubank Jr. and give them some type of advantage, but also mentally deplete him, stress him out. And Eubank Jr. knows that. So perhaps he's figuring, you know what? I'm not going to allow these guys to stress me out. I'll take the fines. And I said fines plural because it's possible he blows weight tomorrow morning as well. He might be thinking, you know what? Whatever will be, will be. I tried to make the weigh-in 160 pounds, was slightly over. I'm not going to stress myself and stress my body during the weight-making process on the final couple of days just to please Eddie Hearn. I'll pay their fine. And he might wake up tomorrow morning with the same mentality. What will be, will be. If I make the weight, I make it. If I don't, I don't. I'm not stressing it. Gareth A. Davis claims that the fine for Eubank Jr. being over 170 pounds tomorrow morning is the same as the fine he incurred today, $500,000. And if that's true, and if the rumors of him getting 8 to 10 million for this fight are true as well, then in my view, Eubank Jr. should disregard the rehydration limit of 170 pounds. I don't agree with rehydration limits at all. You know, if this was a championship fight at middleweight, Eubank Jr. blowing the weight, either at the weigh-in or the check weight the next morning, that would mean that he doesn't get to win the championship. It's no longer on the line for him, and only Conor Benn would get the opportunity, should he win the fight, to capture the title. But it's not a championship fight. So the only thing that Eubank Jr. is forfeiting here is some money. And yes, it's a lot of money for the average person, but presumably not so much money to Chris Eubank Jr. I think it's better to miss the weight, get fined and win, rather than make the weight, don't get fined and lose. Just ask Ryan Garcia. And that was a championship fight, by the way. And it's not like Eubank Jr. missed weight by an enormous amount. It was only half an ounce. And again, this is not a championship fight, so we don't need to be technical, at least not from my perspective as a boxing fan. I'm not particularly concerned about being overly pedantic and technical about half an ounce, you know? I don't care. This was always a novelty fight to begin with. I was never that keen on this fight the first time they tried to make it. Not overly keen on it now. It's a little curiosity, but it's not a fight that in my head I ever felt needed to happen. I thought Benn was on a good trajectory at 147 pounds, and I think he should have continued on down that path. If I was part of his team, that's what I would have advised. This diversion to now fighting Eubank Jr. at 160 is weird. I always felt it was weird. Purely money motivated. And this is prize fighting, yes. But in my view, it's very short-term thinking. And that's really typical of Matchroom these days. Everything they do is about a smash and grab, fast money. Whereas you look at Queensbury, for example, and they're more interested in the long game because they figure that over the long term, it's actually going to be more profitable. Yeah, you lose money in the short term, but you do better in the long run. It's different business philosophies, you know? But as I say, this insistence that Conor Benn go after the Chris Eubank Jr. fight, in my view, is just a perfect example of this Matchroom smash and grab mentality. Fast money, short-term thinking. Anyway, it is what it is. Eubank Jr. misses weight. Let's see if he misses weight tomorrow as well. Let me know what you guys think about all this in the comment section below. I'll leave it there.